Hi, everyone. Welcome. It is Friday and it is the Parent Exchange. I'm Tilly Elvram and I am your host here at Parent Support for Online Learning. And I'm really glad that we're here on this Friday. This is going to be our last Parent Exchange for the year for 2020. And so I can't think of a better guest to have us kind of close out a challenging year than a special educator, somebody who's in the trenches with students every single day and supporting them through distance learning and through this crisis. And I think we're going to leave this conversation with a better appreciation of what our educators are doing and how they are serving our special needs students. And I think we'll leave the conversation with some hope for the new year coming. And so please welcome Matt Drake here. He is an educator in Missouri and he educates students. He works with students at the New Dawn School, which is a school that serves the severely disabled in Missouri. And we're going to learn a little bit about this kind of unique system that Missouri has established for students that are disabled, that have special needs, that I wasn't familiar with. And I think we could all use and appreciate some of this knowledge and maybe ask why maybe in our state we don't have some school systems similar to this. So Matt, welcome. We're glad you're here. Tell us a little bit about your background, your professional, your educational background.
All right. Hey, well, thank you for having me. I'm just really thrilled to be part of the show, part of this group. And I just want to send a lot of love out to the families that have been struggling for the last several months with distance learning, especially those with children with special needs, because this brings such a unique and unfortunate twist to an already hard situation. For my educational background, for my professional background, I've been a teacher at the New Dawn School for the severely disabled for 5 years now, but I've worked in the special needs field for up to 12 years. I graduated from college with a degree in general studies, but a concentration in communication disorders, which is prerequisite for speech and language pathology. And upon graduating from school, I went to work at an autism and behavior clinic in Northeast Arkansas. And that clinic focused on speech, OT, PT, or occupational therapy, physical therapy, long speech therapy, but then also did a heavy focus on principles in behavior analysis, or ABA, as a lot of people know it. And with that, I learned a lot of valuable skills, worked under some very talented and skilled therapists there. My wife and I moved to Southeast Missouri, where I worked in their early intervention program called First Step. And so I did behavior consultation with children with disabilities ages 0 to 3. And then it was through Missouri First Steps that I became familiar with what we call the state schools, but they are the Missouri schools for the severely disabled. We call them state schools because they are run by the state government. They are under the branch of the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. And through that, I took a few twists and turns through special needs case management. And then I found my way to a place that I plan on staying for the rest of my career, and that is at New Dawn. And so that is a very short synopsis of my educational and professional background.
Well, that's a lot. You have a lot of credentials under your belt, which is wonderful because you bring a lot of expertise to your classroom. So what age students do these schools serve, and what age range are you working with?
Sure, of course. The state schools, like most public schools, children enter at kindergarten age around 5 or 6 years old. Individuals with special needs are eligible to stay at our schools, and even at Missouri public schools through the age of 21. So it's just pretty understood and standard for a student attending the what we call MSSD schools to stay until they're 21. At my school, we have 6 different classrooms serving around 40 students. So the population is pretty small, and the classrooms, in comparison to public schools, are relatively small. And so I have, myself as a teacher, 3 classroom aides, and then I have 7 students, all of which have either had or do have behavior support plans. And because that being my background, my kind of specialty, that's why my classroom has that, also has that little bit of an extra criteria. And I've been blessed to have the majority of the same students for my 5 years there. It's depending on the school and depending on the needs of the student, that they might kind of move up through the different classrooms. We do have a younger, intermediate, and older classrooms, but sometimes when you see a student that's thriving in a classroom environment, you don't want to mess that up. And so that's why I've had several students that have stayed with me for over 5 years. I'm sorry, or for my 5 years. But so right now, the age range in my classroom is age 10 or 5th grade up through 18 or seniors.
Great, great. And well, I love to hear about that small group
Yes.
kind of cohort, because any parent that's had a student with special needs or learning differences or neuro differences knows that that one-on-one support, that kind of, attention is needed, and
Yes.
and allows kids to thrive. And we see that not a lot in the traditional public schools, but every once in a while I'll hear cases where they talk about kind of keeping kids with one teacher for a couple of years.
Sure.
And the evidence from that, the kids thrive. They do really well when they can have those kind of long-term relationships with their teachers.
Sure.
So that's really great
Sure.
to hear. Talk a little bit about the academic piece in the school, because we know
Sure.
students, they're eligible for free and appropriate public education. Talk a little bit about the academics.
Sure. Within our school system, we do have, it's sort of a mixed focus or mixed blend on the academic emphasis. We're still held to the same state standards as the public school, but seeing that all of our students have IEPs, we don't do report cards or letter grades, or which I know that varies even with public schools nowadays. But we just look: are they progressing towards their goals, or are they not? And the goals are, of course, determined by the parents, by the IEP team, and by the different professionals involved in that. We do have an emphasis on the English language arts, on math, on science, that has been adjusted to the students' needs for where they are. As individuals with special needs are not necessarily going to be on par with their age typical peers that are in the public schools. But we also split the academic focus with the functional skills, with what's called adaptive skills, with some of the skills that typically developing children get along the way through life sort of naturally, while we focus on how can this student be successful in once they leave our school, which everyone focuses on, but we're not looking towards necessarily setting them off to go off to college or go into a long-term job field. We look on can they be successful in whatever the future is going to hold for them. And for some of them, that does mean that they might go to an adaptive day center. They might go into some sort of sheltered workshop for employment. But we look at, with the parents, with the team, with the guardians, what is what is their life going to look like once they leave here, and how can we prepare them for those skills? A lot of things we focus on in my classroom real heavily are social skills, and it's things which we might take for granted, which for sitting at a table and taking turns while playing a group game. And just something which we might consider to be very basic. We make that what our lesson for that period of time is, and while playing that game, we'll focus on what literacy skills can they gain from this? Can we pull math skills out of this? Can we pull language skills out of this game? Is there fine motor aspect which we can also pull from it? But even though the overarching focus is, can we as a group sit here at the table and appropriately take turns, be patient, wait for our friends to do what they need to do, and just build those things. Because I can focus on mid to high level mathematics all day long, but how does that benefit the child or benefit the student if they don't have the appropriate social skills to go and be part of society?
Right, right. And these schools, do the parents make a choice to enroll their student, or is this referral
Yes.
from the school districts? How does that work? How do they
Well,
find?
it's actually both. There's 34 different schools like ours throughout the state of Missouri, and they serve their regional districts. Like, for example, New Dawn, I don't have the exact number, but we serve, 3 or 4 different schools that are surrounding us, and the districts and the child's family will make this decision together. Sometimes the district school will make a suggestion, and again, this is based on criteria set by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. So from the State Department, there's an IQ criteria. There's different assessments that are done. There's psychological assessments that are done. There's adaptive assessments that are done to see, does this child qualify? It's not just the public school just sends over whoever they wish. That there are set criteria which we don't at the school level don't set. And so the public school may make a recommendation to the parent: your child may thrive better in this environment. Or sometimes parents, we've had them move into our area so they could enroll their child in our school, because they think that the public school, while doing a very good job, is not the best fit for their child, because it might be too large or things like that. And so they'll ask the public school, can we make a referral? Can we see if this is a possibility so my child can be enrolled in that state school? So
Very
yes,
good.
there's absolutely a choice involved. And if by some chance the parents over time think it's not the best environment for their child, there's nothing holding them there. They can make the choice to re-enroll their child back in their district school. The majority of the time that we see within our school, and we see within all the other state schools, is that the parents get their child there and realize, wow, this is what my child needs. They are thriving here in this smaller environment where these people are just more adapted and better trained to work with individuals with severe disabilities, and they see their child thrive and they love it there.
So do the students generally stay till they're 21, till they age out, or is it
Yes.
similar, 18 and they move on? Or do parents tend to keep them in till they're 21?
We find that, I'd say, I don't have the percentage, but I would say this heavy majority, if not the entirety, want their child to stay there until 21st birthday. Really, well, in my 5 years, I've not seen any students graduate early, and it's now they do have the district always invites that child, because they're technically still a student of their local district while they are still attending school with us. So there's that sort of joint relationship there between us and the district schools. So they have the possibility and the option to walk with their class. Let's say that they are 18, which would be a typical senior. So they do have the option to walk with that public school class, but they could still stay enrolled with us and be a student with us until 21.
And continue
and the majority
working.
stay.
Yeah, and continue working on those life skills, those functional skills that you're talking about.
Yes.
To prepare them
Absolutely.
for whatever life is going to look like after their public school years. That's fantastic. And I can think of many families who could benefit from those kinds of opportunities for their students.
Thank you. And as being someone that has worked in different states which didn't have these types of schools set up, and now coming to Missouri and working here and working with children of high and low functioning disabilities, I am just a huge fan and a huge supporter of the state school system, and how it does is help and benefit these students that sometimes would fall through the cracks in a larger school setting. And again, that's we know that's not the case for every student, but for the individuals that have more pervasive disabilities, more severe situations, the state school setup is really, really, it's a fantastic model.
Well, that's great. So you've got this great system, but I think we've learned through this crisis, I don't think there's one school, one child, one educator in this country that hasn't been impacted by COVID. How, how did it affect your schools? Did you guys have to shut down? Have you had to participate in distance learning?
Oh yes, it's been, last year it was either March or April. We saw sort of the wave coming down the state, starting with the larger cities, the more populated areas, and then because where I live and teach is down in the boot heel of Missouri. And so the town where I teach, Sikeston, Missouri, is around 10, 15,000, or at the max 20,000 people. And so relatively speaking, a small town compared to some of the bigger cities here in the area. But we serve a very rural area. And so a lot of surrounding towns are very, very small. And so we were not being as densely populated. We weren't the first to be sort of hit with the shutdowns. But springtime came, and we saw just coming down the state, school after school was shutting down, and so we kind of fell along the same model. And about April or late March, I can't remember, we shut down. We did virtual. Well, none of us had experience with virtual learning, with distance learning. And so, like all the other schools in the area, we were scrambling to figure out how can we support these students that are now pretty much out of school for the next 6, 7, 8 weeks or more, and how can we still meet the guidelines and the things that are bound within their IEP, because an IEP is a legal document. Yeah. So if it says a student gets 60 minutes a week of speech therapy, we're bound to see that happens. Or I have 5 to 10 different goals for my students. I have to make sure how can I uphold this legally binding document and still support my kids and so we had to make adjustments and amendments to all of the IEPs, and not just our school, but I know all the state schools had to do that, to make adjustments. And then also, and I imagine it's very similar for the public schools. So what we did initially was we would send packets of information home. We were in, a close contact, phone calls, texting, emails with the parents. And so we did that at first. And then the state for this year I was able to issue every student an iPad, which was set up with different ways to Zoom or use a WebEx app, or different ways so we could have communication with the students. For those whose parents and families chose to keep them home for part or a large portion of the school year, or if we've ever had to go through intermittent shutdowns, which our school has, which I know many have. We missed the first 3 days of this week because there was possible exposure, and so we shut down, come in and clean the building, and we do virtual learning for the parents, and we try to set up Zoom meetings with the kids, with the parents, and it's been a very unique set of challenges, and I really feel for our parents that have to change their schedule on a dime. Because let's say, a family has a child that's 15, 16, 17, typically developing, that may not be a big deal for the parents to say, all right, you're staying home and doing virtual school, I'm going off to work. Where the majority of our students, if not all of them, don't have that luxury of being independent at home. And so now the parents are kind of burdened with, do I have family? Do I have friends? Do I have a support system to make sure my child is going to be safe at home because of these cognitive issues or these delays which they have, which now impair their safety or their lack of safety awareness. And it's created burdens which not all of us tend to think about.
Sure, sure. Do you feel like, are the parents overwhelmed? I mean, are they at this point, because now we're into month 10, and we're finishing out a full semester of virtual learning, and I'm sure you guys learned many lessons in the spring when it was all kind of happening.
Certainly.
Are they doing better now than they were at the start?
I would say so, because our administration, those in central office that have been kind of overseeing all the school operations, there's a very fast learning curve that had to be, we all had to adjust. Yeah. And of course, there's a lot of stress and frustration at the beginning. I know myself as a teacher, the beginning of this year, having to try to institute a virtual therapy because for fear of risk of spread of the virus or other things, all therapies which are normally done on the school grounds in the classrooms by different OT, PT, and speech therapists now are done through iPads or done through virtual therapy. And so there's a therapist on one end of it, which I know for many schools might be the norm. This is brand new for us. And so what a large challenge we've seen, but it's had a hidden benefit, and I'll explain that here in a second. One challenge we've seen is how do we, as teachers and classroom aides, now help carry out their related services, because we're not trained physical therapists or speech therapists or OTs. And so as a teacher, and I've spoken to a lot of my coworkers, both classroom teachers and aides, all of our skills have had to kind of be upgraded, as now, instead of sending a student to work with a therapist, where we would do wraparound services in the classroom on the functional skills needed, now we are directly implementing with the therapist being a consultant on the other end. And so I've had more than one teacher say, I'm a better teacher because of this, because I'm now able to add these additional skills to what I'm able to do. I've heard several classroom staff aides or paraprofessionals say the same thing. Going back to your original question, I believe the families, and I'm sure I'll be corrected, if I'm mistaken here, they're not so much overwhelmed as they are just exhausted with really the rest of the world, because while we've adjusted to this being the current normal, it still is a burden for many.
Yeah, I mean, I think parents, especially of our most exceptional children, they already work so hard, and you are doing such important work during normal times to support them, and then they kind of lose some of that support. And so, but I love that you're pointing out some of the silver linings in this, in that educators are learning and growing and improving on their skill sets, which is only going to serve your students better in the future. You're going to take all those lessons that you've learned through this and carry it forward, I'm sure. How are the kids doing? Are they, has it been challenging for them to lose that in-person connection and have to receive these therapies online?
They are doing surprisingly well. One thing that has impressed me the most is the resilience and the abilities which our students have. It's really easy to look at a person with a specific diagnosis and see only what they cannot do or the challenges that it'll take them to get to a certain skill level, or we'll look at it and say, oh, it's a shame they won't be able to do this, this, and this. But what we oftentimes overlook is the abilities which they do have. and the determination and the flexibility that I've seen within my classroom specifically, and the way I've seen these children just roll with what is extremely stressful things. Because many, we all thrive when we know what's happening, when there's a pattern, when the schedule is not interrupted. That's just everybody. But then you take individuals that don't understand these changes and are more dependent on a schedule or more on the consistent daily routine than maybe you and I are. And I have seen my students who I thought this would really, really rock their world. I have seen them overcome and thrive, and I have seen them just rise to the occasion, if not rise above. And when this school year started back in August, I was kind of preparing myself. Okay, we're going to see these issues crop up, and we're going to have to rework on this skill. And they just showed up like they were at school just yesterday and nothing had changed. And I was deeply impressed. And it's just, I can't say enough positive things about our students and how well they've been doing. And with their parents, I mentioned earlier how the classroom staff are now kind of improving upon their skills with what they've been having to do when we do have what we call a virtual day or distance learning day. The therapists still have the option to connect with the families where mom and dad or grandma or caretaker is watching them. And so they're now working with that parent or caregiver in their home. And we've had a lot of parents say to us, I now see what they're, I now, have a better idea of how to work with my child on their speech goals, on their physical therapy goals. And with that, we're seeing better home support, where it would take a child so many weeks to accomplish, a goal or skill. Now they're actually accomplishing it faster and quicker and with better quality because the therapist has been working with the parents at home or the caregiver at home. And so now they're able to implement this not just at school, but all the time. And I've seen a lot of people.
I love that because as online families that, that we made this choice and we sent our kids to schools that were intentionally designed to provide online learning, we are always seen as learning coaches or partners with the teachers. We don't replace what the teachers do, but we are definitely hands-on in our kids' day-to-day learning experiences. And so I love that your parents are getting to benefit from one of the biggest assets that online learning has, is
Certainly.
that you learn along with your child, and you're able to give those teachers some extra support. That's wonderful. I love that that's kind of playing out in your school.
Yes.
And maybe it wasn't intentional, but it's something that's just kind of just those benefits happen.
Sure.
And that's a testament to the work that you all are doing there. So one of the reasons that Matt caught my eye in the group is he had posted one of the ways that he's kind of connecting with his students, and he's doing virtual story time and is posting these great story sessions on YouTube, and he shared it with the group. And if somebody posts something in the group, I pretty much go and watch it because I want to see all the great things that are happening during this crisis and the way that educators are innovating and adapting. And right away I was like, oh my goodness, this guy is like so entertaining and really engaged, and obviously put some work into it because you're not just reading the story and flipping the page, but there's great graphics. And you do what any great storyteller does. You take pauses and you ask the kids questions that we take for granted when we go to like the library and have story time or do it in our classroom. But you figured out how to make it engaging online. How did you come up with the idea? And were you just searching for ways to connect with your kids?
Sure. Well, this was early on in the school year, and we were trying to prepare ourselves for an inevitable shutdown because we knew something was going to happen. Someone would be exposed, or the virus would make its way through, and we'd have to shut down. And so we're trying to, as educators and the school, trying to be prepared. How can we support our students while they're at home? And myself as a teacher, I'm pretty animated. I'm pretty goofy. I try to make things fun. I was a student, growing up there are certain principles that I had, and there's certain teachers that the ones that stuck out to me were the ones who didn't necessarily act like stiff adults. And so they were just goofy, but they still taught, and they still had, classroom structure and discipline. But so that's how they reached me. So I'm thinking, here are students and individuals that I can try to pass, how I was shown a great way to teach, on to my kids. And so I'm a goofy person, and so that's how I teach. I try to be animated and big and bubbly and loud or quiet, whatever I need to be. And we have a school Facebook page. And so before we got involved with Google Classroom, we would post little videos or post packets or share things on our Facebook page, and also to have conversations and connect with the families, make school announcements, things like that. And we had a shutdown day, and my fellow teachers were putting things online, and I thought, I need to try to find a way to teach this certain thing to my kids. And my wife suggested, with my wife, who's an occupational therapist, pediatric a therapist of that. So our entire world professionally is with special needs kids. And so she said, just read a story and be goofy, record it, put it out there. So I did that, and a lot of folks liked it. And I thought, hey, I just may try to do this, and I may try to add this or add that. And it just sort of grew into what I've been putting out there. And I made that to put in my Google Classroom or to share with our school Facebook page, because some of my students were staying home longer than others. And one thing that the parents said to me was they miss just being with their friends. They miss, and again, these were kids that I've had for 5 years. So for 5 days a week, they've seen me for 6, 7 hours a day, and now they're at home for an extended amount of time. I thought, how can I reach my kids and still show them I'm Matt, who loves them, who misses them, who wants to be goofy with them. And I was mainly just, I was wanting to teach a few skills, but just make them smile. And the payment for me came when a mom sent me a picture of her son watching one of my silly videos and laughing. And I thought, this is why I do it. Here's a young man who, by no choice of his own, is at home, missing his friends, missing his routine. And and since I was such a large part of his routine, I thought, here's something that I want to give to him, so he can see that the world has not stopped. And it just had good responses, and people have been very kind. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll see if other teachers and parents that are going through a similar situation, maybe they would want to use these too. And so here we are.
And here we are. Well, and if you don't mind, I will show what you've been working on here.
Sure, that's fine.
Let me get technology to cooperate with me.
Sure.
Let's see. And of course it's not. Hang on one second. Hang on, folks. It's Tilly. I'm the online mom, but that doesn't mean that technology does what I want it to. But Matt's videos are really fun. They're entertaining. And if you have a little one, I highly recommend that you share it with them. But I'm just going to play a minute here or two so you can see Matt in action. All right, so you can see the work that Matt has put into these videos, and they're great. And if you want to find out what happened to the lady who swallowed the bell, then you're gonna have to go. You're gonna have to go watch it. But I do. If you have little ones, I encourage you to subscribe to Matt's channel. And when we're done here, I will post the link for you all in the chat thread so that you can go and access that. How many videos have you done?
I have made exactly 10. I'm working on my 11th one right now. I try to get out about one a week. We'll probably slow down for the holidays, you know, as we go on Christmas break and then New Year. But, you know, my goal is to put out, you know, one a week. You know, having this job, and I also work as a minister for a small church. I'm also in grad school, continuing my
In your
education,
spare time?
and then being a yeah, and then yeah, yes, in my spare time, and then also a parent of 3 children, ages 10, 7, and 8 months. So it's a little busy, but so with what spare time I have, I like to work on these. It's fun for me. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy showing them to my kids, you know, both in my home and then at my school. And you know, it's also an added bonus that you know others are enjoying them too. So you know, the goal is about one a week. But you know, I don't plan on slowing down or stopping anytime soon.
Well, we're grateful for the effort, and yeah, you're a busy guy, and your family expanded during a pandemic, which
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that had to be all kinds of exciting. And yeah,
Yeah.
you're in ministry, so you're just a busy guy, and I'm tired just thinking about it.
Sure. Well, it's quite
And
all right.
you're educating kids in one of the most challenging times that we faced in this country. So mad props to you for all that you do, and
Well,
I
thank
want
you.
to encourage you to keep going
Well, thank you.
because you're doing a great thing, a positive thing during this crisis
Well,
as
thank
you
you.
work to
I
serve your kids.
I've been blessed with great support. My wife and family are so supportive, so very encouraging of everything we do. With my administration at the school, you know, I've received just great support with them. You know, I've been impressed with the kids, impressed with our staff, but also the administration at the building level, and then on up the chain of command. You know, I've been very impressed and pleased with how they have supported us in the school system. You know, us as teachers, and you know, because they recognize that us being on the front line, and says, you know, we're needing help in many different ways, and they're supplying a lot of support. And it's you talked about trying to find hope earlier. The determination of the human spirit that's really come out of this situation has really, you know, it shouldn't go unnoticed. That while this time is extremely, you know, exceptional for us, what's even more exceptional is the way people have banded together and supported each other through this very hard and challenging time.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm glad to hear a positive story. And my hope is that your kids at New Dawn continue to thrive, and your fellow teachers feel the support of your community and the parents that you're serving, because you're doing good work. And yeah, like I said at the beginning of the show, I can't think of a better way to close out our parent exchange episodes for the year than highlighting a positive education story and the good work that educators are doing and the resiliency of our children. This has been really hard, but they're trying. They're really trying and doing the best. We're all trying to make
Mm-hmm.
the best of a really just hard situation. And every day there are new challenges. And like you said, the human spirit just figures out a way to overcome and support each
Sure.
other. And we're
Sure.
all in it together. So Lori Cooney says, you're an inspiration, Matt. She's watching, she's in the thread. And that's high praise from this
Well,
particular advocate. So,
well,
um,
thank you, and I just appreciate all that you all are doing. You know, we're all doing our best to see all of our children thrive, to see each other, carry on, and it's so thank you for the kind words.
well, you're most welcome, and I know we're in for another couple bumpy months, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll be doing some more remote virtual learning over the next couple months. But we'll get through it. We've gotten through what, the
Yes.
last 10 months. We
Mm-hmm.
can do it a little bit longer, and we'll all have, lessons learned and be better on the other side of this. I know that. So
Absolutely.
everybody, thank you, Matt Drake. I appreciate you. Merry Christmas to you and
Well, Merry
your
Christmas to you.
family, and happy holidays. And to everybody in the group, you made it. You made it to the end of the semester. And parents and students, if you,
Woohoo!
woo, let's celebrate. And if you are behind right now, holiday break is a great time to catch up because you're not going to have those assignments piling on. So I want to encourage you to take the time over the next couple weeks, catch up on your schoolwork so you can start off the new year in a really good place. And I just want to thank everybody in this group for tuning in every week for the Parent Exchange and participating in the group and lifting each other up. And we're going to see you in the new year. And I'm just grateful for all of you, and want to wish you very happy holidays and a happy new year. So everybody, be safe, enjoy each other, take care of each other, and we'll see you in 2021. Thanks, Matt.
Hey, thank you for having me. I
Thank you.
appreciate you and everybody else. Thank you.
Yes, thanks so much. Bye, everybody.